have liftoff. So all those many people out there in the population are watching can watch. So yes, welcome again to this full council meeting. We'll start with apologies for absence, please. Sorry, Jan, give you a second to...
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We have apologies for absence from councillors Lewis, Ward and Poppy.
Thank you very much, Town Clerk. And move on to item 2, declarations of interest. Anybody, please? Councillor Hutton, you have something to say.
Yes, I'd like, as always, to say I obviously have an interest in Tavi Helps. Can I just have a little bit of a guidance, please, from the Mayor and the Clerk about this? Because for the several meetings recently of Council and Business BNP, there's obviously been a lot of discussion that I rightly have not been involved in. And we go out for maybe 30, 40 minutes on occasions, and then come in, and nobody says a word. And on occasions, I've actually asked members, you know, what happened? Oh, you'll find out. I'm slightly worried that things are happening and decisions are being made with incorrect information. It may be not just Tavi Helps. I mean, this is my worry. This might happen to other people in the same boat and other organisations. Anyway, we've got in our minutes that we're going to discuss very soon. It says here that about Tavi Helps that the licensee advised that based on the current operating model, we might lose our licence. Now, the only reason I'm bringing this up is that we've asked several members what that meant, what the current operating model is that they're worried about. And they said, oh, we've been told by the clerk that's what we should write. That was the clerk's, you know, some wording he thought we should use. And when we've then talked to the clerk, I know Councillor Parker has talked, well, the clerk has implied it's the councillor's decision. And the difficulty for Tavi Helps, and difficulty maybe for other organisations of similar estate, is that we don't know what the minutes actually mean. Because it doesn't help us go forward as to what is the current operating model that the council is so worried about. And I just want to know, really, because I want to do the right thing and say that I've got an interest, but I just wonder if we and maybe other organisations, by declaring interest, are actually maybe not doing themselves any favours.
I understand your frustration, and we've discussed this in the past, and I can see exactly how this is quite difficult. Obviously, we are under the exclusion of public and press public bodies. You know, the part 2 that we are discussing this in, whether you're here or not. And I do thank you for circulating separately outside the council chamber your thoughts on exactly what the Tavi Helps, in this case, organisation is doing. And I think there are few people in this chamber right now who don't understand that, because everybody's, I think, seen your guidance. I'll ask the town clerk to perhaps address the whole problem of declaring an interest and not being...
I'm going to take a step away from there, because otherwise we end up talking about the issue which has caused the interest, and if we're going to talk about that, then unfortunately the members who are concerned would have to declare their interest and would have to...
Well, this is the problem, but then I'm happy
to have a conversation at the end of the meeting with the 2 members who are involved with the organisation, if that helps, in contextual terms, but we have written to Tavi Helps explaining what the minute is and what it was that the council agreed at that time. I can't put a lot of flesh on that because that is what the council agreed, but I can try and help and assist in terms of that. But obviously what we can't do is have a situation where we're actually dealing with an issue where there is an interest with the members who have the interest within the room at the time.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to have that conversation at the end of the meeting.
It's kind of a bit of a catch-22, unfortunately.
It's the nature of the way in which the regime for interests and declarations is intentionally designed and provided for from that side of things.
Councillor Parker, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. entirely understand the principle of Part 2. Am I correct in saying that although the discussion, members' discussion in Part 2 excludes the other parties involved, the decision is not in Part 2. The decision is properly recorded in the minutes. So just taking Councillor Hutton's point, when the people who've been excluded from the discussion come back in, is there anything in standing orders that would prevent the Mayor from saying, thank you for staying outside the room, welcome back, our decision was?
That's fine.
Yeah, that sounds entirely fair. I think that's a...
Because we actually got your letter, and thank you for it, but we got it 2 or 3 weeks after.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all right. It happens. That's just bureaucracy. And as just a way of operating, I've seen many councils do that, and it seems to me at least one step forward.
I think that's a good pragmatic solution that I will certainly adopt from now on. Andy, are you going to come back on that at all, or are you happy with that? Yep.
I want people to be aware that
And
it's a problem. It may not just have health.
Yeah.
It's something that may be a problem for other organisations.
Well, it's healthy to have brought this up so that we can, in future, consider that if it ever comes up in the same way again. Does anybody else want to comment on that, apart from the Town Clerk? Town Clerk?
Yeah. I mean, all I would say is, I'm just picking up on the point of principle that Councillor Hutton's made. Clearly, if when you come to confirm the minutes, whether it's the minutes of this meeting or if it's Budget and Policy or DMNL, at those meetings where they confirm those minutes, if those members who are in attendance look at those minutes and feel that they are an incorrect representation, then that absolutely is the opportunity to correct those minutes. So if your recollection of what happened at a meeting, having been at the meeting, is that the minute is incorrect, then that's the point at which, through confirmation of minutes, you will actually seek the views of colleagues as to whether or not, and if so, how it could or should be corrected. There's a difference between correcting the minutes, technically, and changing the minutes. Correcting is a matter of accuracy to bring them into alignment with what was actually intended. Changing the minutes is, I've changed my mind since, or I would rather it was this. And of course we can't change the minutes, but we can correct them for a matter of accuracy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. This is clearly a really important point of protocol, and I'd like everybody to have hoisted in exactly what has been said this evening. Has anybody got any further comments on that before we move on? Good. Thank you very much. Right, so we'll move to item 3, the minutes of the last council meeting. Does anybody have anything to raise on those minutes now? Again, bearing in mind the Town Clerk's words, this is the time to raise any issues that you think are incorrectly recorded or you generally have some sort of comment on. Good. I'm going to assume then that everybody's happy with that, and we'll move on to item 4.
Just going to vote to...
Oh, of course, yes, we do need a vote. So can we have a proposer, please? Thank you. Councillor Johnson, second. Councillor Moody, thank you. All is in favour? Thank you.
Carry.
Good. Item 4 is public representation and questions. There are none. And now we move on to the meat of the agenda really here, items requiring decisions. There's a lot of financial items that I hope you've been able to have a look at, and I would, it's obviously a little too late now, but I would encourage you, if you are faced with this sort of information before council, if you could perhaps bring up any detailed issues with the Town Clerk, and I'm going to assume, unless anybody has anything to say, that these papers are satisfactory for you, Town Clerk.
If you're agreeable, Mr. Mayor, there is a process to be followed in relation to this stage. This is your formal arrangement whereby you consider and subject to that consideration, certify both your annual governance statement and your financial accounts for submission to the external auditor. It forms, broadly speaking, two processes. The first process is on the basis of where we are now. So you've had internal audit reports over the course of the year. You will have had insurances put in place. You will have your statement of assurance as an organisation. You engage and you employ the services of professionals, whether they be solicitors, accountants, your internal auditor, and other stakeholders, as the case may be. Excuse me. So if there are issues which have arisen during the year in relation to that which have been unresolved, this is the opportunity to raise them. I'm not aware of any from where we are. You've got your internal auditor's report before you, and that's his year-end report, setting out his review of the current arrangements of the council on the back of that. And you will see that in terms of the general report, he's made two recommendations, one of which is in relation to salaries and wages to staff, and one of which is in relation to year-end accruals. We have agreed both of those recommendations at officer level in principle to go forward with, so there is no dispute or difference of view between us. And then on the back of that piece of work, what you have before you is the annual internal audit report, which is where, in relation to the sheet of paper that looks like that, your auditor has gone through a series of questions which bear a significant relationship to the questions which you are about to be asked to consider yourselves as councillors. And he has answered yes to all of those, apart from those which are non-applicable. And you will see in the accompanying paperwork, he has explained the reasons why he considers non-applicable to be appropriate in relation to those. So before we go on as a council to answer the 9 questions which are asked of you, are there any questions arising from the internal auditor? I knew it was going to be Councillor Ewings. Any questions arising from the internal auditor's report or other matters before we proceed to actually consider the annual governance statement?
I'm a little intrigued that Mr. Rose has said about the assistant to the town clerk having to countersign the reviewed payroll.
Can you let us just know which page you're referring to?
Oh, I don't know, it's not got page number.
Yeah, they got 1 to 6. No, okay.
I am just a little intrigued that Mr. Rose has been with us for years. I appointed him, so I know how long he's been here. And Mrs. Smallcombe has also been here for years. Why has he only picked it up now? Because it's like auditors looking for something to find to criticise. And I actually don't like that. That's not fair to our council officers. You know, I'm sorry, but Mr. Rose has been with us for over 10 years now. Why hasn't he noticed before now? And I would like you all to know that that's why I've said that the assistant to the town clerk has been with us for over 10 years, and so's Mr. Rose. Why now? Why pick on something that actually looks really petty, and he had to find something to, you know, make his fee worthwhile? I don't approve of such activities.
Thank you for that observation. I don't think there's a massive amount we can do about that, but anybody have any?
Sorry.
So, no, can I just ask if anybody else has any observations on Councillor Ewings' observation? No, thank you, please.
We can write to Mr. Rose.
Indeed.
And say that we're not happy with it, and point out, and you can even tell him it was me, and point out that actually both of them have been with us for over 10 years. Why find it now?
Thank you very much, Councillor Ewings. Is that the wish of the council? Yeah. Would anybody dissent from that? Town Clerk.
I understand exactly the points that Councillor Ewings makes, and I think, and I don't mean this in a facetious way. I genuinely don't. I think she actually makes a very good point, which is that the difficulty for an auditor is that if you are actually going through the standard tests and you are struggling to find stuff, there is an element whereby you are going to have to try and find other stuff as you go along, not to justify the work you're doing because you're going through the standard set of tests, but in order to demonstrate that you are trying to find ways of adding value. Her point about the length of time is perfectly fair. I think I would take away from this at this stage, and obviously it's subject to an external audit. We have an internal auditor who is a member of the National Internal Audit Forum. They lead on some of its working groups. We have someone who is recognised by their peers as being an excellent internal auditor within the sector, and this is the most that they were actually able to find going through the accounts of an organisation the size of Tavistock Town Council. I take that as being a very encouraging indication of where we're at, and I think we should, subject to the views of the external auditor, because there is another stage to go through, I think we should, to a certain extent, celebrate that, and I think it's a reflection on the work that the team do. And in particular, I'm thinking about the assistant to the town clerk, the financial administrator, and the financial support assistant that actually has enabled us to get there. And I would say, and this is also not just my view, but this is also the view of your accountant, that we have progressed considerably in the last 2 to 3 years in terms of our ability to deal with the internal financial management arrangements, partly by virtue of some new post holders in situ. And I wouldn't like to lose sight of the great work that the team are doing in terms of delivering for and on behalf of the council, because we had one of the smoothest year-end processes with the accountant as well as with the internal auditor as a result of that. And yes, this is it minor? It is absolutely minor. Is it procedurally correct? Yes, it's procedurally correct. Could it have been spotted before? Yes. But please, let's not lose sight of the work the team are doing.
Thank you, Carl. I suppose actually the thing we should be asking ourselves is what would be achieved by complaining about this. I don't think we would actually. Yes, thank you. Councillor Park.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I must admit, thinking back, I raised a little question mark in my own head, but when I read the all four, half a dozen columns together, it seemed to me that there might be a perfectly sensible answer to it. Has there been a change in the accounting system in Sage since the last internal audit? Because the way I read the first of those statements is it's not current practice, and the way I read the last one is that Jan will now sign the Sage Part 1. It seems to me that there might have been a change in practice, that's all.
If I may, the answer is I'd have to phone a friend on that, and she's not in today. in terms of the sort of procedural background to where we are, I think it's fair to say that over the last few years there are a number of areas where an increased level of certification has been introduced. So, for example, probably about, I'm looking at Jan, 2, maybe 3 years ago, we weren't then certifying the money which we had with CCLA. We were certifying it on an annual basis, but we weren't doing it on a monthly basis. That was something which the internal auditor recommended and which we've taken on board. And I think part of where we're at is actually that improvement journey in terms of, well, you may not have done it before, but can you add it in now? 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, we weren't certifying the £1,800 or whatever it is we've got in rent deposit deeds. We certify that now. That's something which the internal auditor has recommended. So I don't think what he's saying is that we are non-compliant in terms of what we've done. I think what he's saying is you can do things better in terms of what you're doing by virtue of. And this is absolutely consistent with those two other areas which he's introduced previously by way of going forward. It's not an issue to do, and we're very happy to do it. It's just that it's not something we've done. So Councillor Ewing's point is a perfectly valid and fair one. I just think this is part of the improvement journey that we've got in terms of where we go forward. There is, not on this I have to say, but there is always the opportunity for a robust discussion with an internal auditor if they come up with something which you look at and you go, hang on a minute, let's have a conversation around that. And that's part of the dialogue, because they are an internal auditor and they have to maintain their professional standards, but they also have to recognise that there are sometimes organisational needs. And I have to say, in relation to ours, we've always found somewhere, might veer towards his view, might veer towards my view, but we've always found a consensus which we both agree on professionally going forward. I'm not worried by this particular thing, but it is a little minor, but it is also a little frustrating, and I completely get the point that's been made.
Thank you, Town Clerk. I'm getting a feeling that there's a consensus to let sleeping dogs lie here, unless Councillor Ewings insists on pursuing it any further. No. Good. So I'm going to move on now to, do we need to actually?
Yes.
Yeah, so we do need to vote that one separately. May I have a proposer for 5.1?
If I may, I'm sorry, I know this is slightly prescriptive, but because
I was going to go and explain.
if I may, can I just ask the questions 1 to 9 that we have listed before us, and then members can indicate on each one if you are happy that we proceed.
Yep.
So, and this is again because the overall national audit process is very prescriptive in terms of how we do this. The first question is, are you satisfied that we have put in place arrangements for effective financial management during the year and for the preparation of the accounting statements?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. That's question 2.
Can I just, do we actually have to sign in the affirmative, or can we just run it through unless anybody has any issues procedurally?
We normally will go through them line by line. That enables people to,
Yes, okay.
members
Carry
to
on.
indicate if there is an area where they would like more information.
Good. As long as you do make it obvious that you have something to say at each hurdle, so to speak. Yeah.
So, 2, we maintained an adequate system of internal control, including measures designed to prevent and detect fraud and corruption, and reviewed its effectiveness. Thank you. 3, we took all reasonable steps to assure ourselves that there are no matters of actual or potential non-compliance with laws, regulations and proper practices that could have a significant financial effect on the ability of this authority to conduct its business or manage its finances. Thank you. 4, we provided proper opportunity during the year for the exercise of electors' rights in accordance with the requirements of the accounts and audit regulations. Thank you. 5, we carried out an assessment of the risks facing this authority and took appropriate steps to manage those risks, including the introduction of internal controls and/or external insurance cover where required. Thank you. 6, we maintained throughout the year an adequate and effective system of internal audit of the accounting records and control systems. Thank you. 7, we took appropriate action on all matters raised in reports from internal and external audit. Thank you. 8, we considered whether any litigation, liabilities or commitments, events or transactions occurring either during or after the year end have a financial impact on this authority and, where appropriate, have included them in the accounting statements. Thank you. And then number 9, which is normally not applicable to us, just so that you're aware, is for local councils, trust funds, including charitable. In our capacity as the sole managing trustee, we discharged our accountability responsibilities for the funds/assets, including financial reporting and, if required, independent examination or audit. Non-applicable if you're agreeable. Thank you very much. And then, if you're happy to authorise the Mayor and Clerk to sign that at the end of the meeting, and we will insert the minute reference number, that will form part of our return. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks very much, Town Clerk. So I think we probably still need to vote on that decision on 5, 1 and 2. Correct. So a proposer, please, for that, Councillor Parker, and a seconder, Councillor Ewings. Thank you. All those in favour?
Thank you.
So we move in a similar vein to item 6, accounting statements, which again I will ask the Town Clerk just to explain briefly, if you would, please.
So this is the format for what's called the limited assurance review, and this is the information which, from the perspective of the government, represents your accounts. Now, clearly, you've already had submitted a budget and policy, your unaudited, what I'll call long accounts. They have no legal status. This is the basis upon which the limited assurance regime operates, and therefore it is for you at this stage to, if agreeable, confirm that these are your final accounts. We will then sign those in the appropriate manner, and these will form the basis upon which the external auditor, PKF Littlejohn, will undertake its review of the financial affairs of the council.
And just to make sure everybody understands, the empty boxes on the reverse of that, page 6 of 6, are to be filled in and signed in the future.
Correct.
Yeah, good. So, unless anybody has any points to make on item 6 concerning that document, I will ask for a proposer that we accept those. Thank you, Councillor Hutton. And Councillor Moody is a seconder. All those in favour, please. Thank you.
Carried.
More finance, general finance, item 7. So you have in front of you a series of figures in a spreadsheet. Does anybody have any issues or points to make in relation to those figures, please? I don't think there's any problems there. So again, we'll need a proposer for that, please. And Councillor Parker and the seconder, Councillor Martin. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Splendid. So we move on to budget and policy minutes, and I'll ask Deputy Mayor, please, to present those.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I rise to present the minutes of the meeting of the Budget and Policy Committee held on Tuesday the 10th of June. 38 election of chairman, 39 election of vice chairman, 40 apologies for absence, 41 confirmation of minutes, 42 declarations of interest, items circulated for recommendation to council, 43 service plans 25-26. And it was recommended that Tavistock Town Council A. receive and endorse the annual summary and review of 24-25, B. subject to the deletion of 21-22 and its replacement with 25-26 in section 2 of the Corporate Services Improvement Plan, the Tavistock Town Council Corporate Services Improvement Plan 2025-26 be endorsed and adopted as the basis for the programmed delivery of council services 2025-26. C. The Council endorse and adopt the Tavistock Town Council Organisational Risk Register, subject to C6, a reduction in likelihood and severity scores from 4 to 3, reflecting a positive direction of travel from 2024 to 25. Regarding being had to C7 in relation to matters associated with capacity/related matters in the autumn budget setting round. Little b, Community Services Plan 2025-26. The committee received and considered the service plan for the community services. It was recommended that Tavistock Town Council Community Services Plans 2025-26 be adopted and endorsed as the basis for delivery of associated services 2025-26. Financial matters. Little a, bank mandate. It was recommended that the recommendation as set out in para 2.1 of the report be approved and adopted. Little b, year-end overspends. It was recommended that the approach as set out in paragraph 3.1 of the report be endorsed. Little c, unaudited financial statements for the period 2024-25. It was recommended that, subject to the inclusion of Councillor Hutton on the list of councillors, removal of Councillor Mann and identifying the Mayor as Councillor Hipsey brackets Deputy Mayor Councillor Johnson, on page 3, the unaudited financial statements of the Council for the year ended 31st of March 2024 be received and noted. 45. Items circulated for information only, Heritage Alliance Group. 46. Urgent matters brought forward at the discretion of the Chairman. 47. Exclusion of press and public bodies admission to meetings Act 1960, and I'll leave it there because we'll take the rest.
Splendid, thank you.
part two.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. That's quite a lot of recommendations there. 2 seconds, if I may. So we've got, yes, as I said, quite a lot of recommendations there. Councillor Parker. No? Sure? Okay. Any other observations of the B&P minutes? It's good to see that the names are corrected there, so that's good. Any other comments? Thank you. So we just need a proposer, please, to adopt those minutes. Councillor Moody. And a seconder. Thank you very much, Councillor Hughes. All those in favour?
Carried.
Good. So we move on to our yellow paper. And we have 2 meetings of DMNL here to consider. One is on the 3rd of June, and one was last night on the 23rd of June. So just a thanks to the team for getting those minutes out so quickly. Hopefully everybody got a copy and has been able to read them. Are there any questions, comments or observations on either of those meetings and the minutes thereof, please? Councillor Parker.
I would like to just say that last night there was one application that was particularly interesting, particularly challenging, and the debate on it was both extensive and detailed. I think Sue is due a vote of thanks from us for having got that decision down so succinctly and so quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Unfortunately, I wasn't there to
it would have been
to join in, or it would have been much longer. Yeah. So it's good to see Sue from downstairs stepping up and helping us out in that respect. So I'd like us to consider adopting those 2 sets of minutes, please. Oh, sorry, you have to say something. I'm jumping. I nearly gave you a chance to get out of that, Barry. Go for it. Councillor Smith will now propose those minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought I got to get out of
You
jail
nearly got away
card there
with
for one moment. I rise to present the Development Management and Licensing Committee for the 3rd of June this year. 27, election of chairman. 28, election of vice chairman. 29, apologies for absence. 30, confirmation of minutes. 31, declaration of interest. 32, Dartmoor National Park. 33, town planning issues. Under this one, it was a proposed speed limit traffic order for Brook Lane in Tavistock. Devon's County Council's proposal to introduce an extension to the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit area in Brook Lane was considered, and it's recommended that Tavistock Town Council support the introduction of the extended 30-mile-an-hour speed limit as detailed. That was that one, Mr. Mayor. If everyone's happy with that, yes?
Well,
Yes.
I think we do that all together, do we? Or do we do it individually?
2 sets of minutes.
Yeah. Well,
Right. 34, general correspondence. 35, general business brought forward at the discretion of the chairman. 36, planning applications, little a from West Devon's decisions. Little b, new planning applications, and it's recommended that the views of the town council, as listed in Appendix B, be passed to the local authority for consideration. Move that, Mr. Mayor.
And 37, yes. Good. So we'll take that en bloc for that particular meeting. So now I, in fact, can ask for a proposer, and Councillor Parker's prepared to do that. Councillor Venning is going to second it, and all those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. And Barry, if I might ask you to move on to the next one, please.
Right. Second one for tonight is the meeting that was held last night, and I would echo the thanks of my two compatriots here regarding the speed at which was turned around. The actual details on the planning applications was very long and very detailed, and also very enjoyable on there. Right, 50, apologies for absence. 51, confirmation of minutes. 52, declarations of interest. 53, Dartmoor National Park Authority. And on 54, which was town planning issues, no items were received, but it was noted that reference was made to correspondence received by the council in respect of prospective future developments. And if it's okay, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask the town clerk whether we've had anything back in return. I know it was only a few days ago, but we haven't had anything back from West Devon.
No, not yet. I sent a further reminder on Friday. I do understand that yesterday the lead member tried to contact me, but unfortunately I was out of office and I was unable to contact her today. So no, we haven't had anything back yet.
I think Councillor Ewings might have a little light to shed on that one.
As far as I'm aware, unless it's changed from last week, they've not been in for any pre-app advice, and they knew nothing of this application that we received on a Friday afternoon, because I know I forwarded it to Jan, and I happened to forward it to the lead officer for planning, and they had no idea about it. So this is just happening, and the planning department knows nothing.
Do you want to go? Councillor Parker. Yeah, Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I understand it, this is a correspondence from a local developer who wishes to make a presentation to us as the town council informally prior to pre-application discussions in order to see whether we have any challenges and any questions to ask before the developer goes to the planning authority for pre-application discussions. It's courtesy in a proposal, in a presentation like this, to invite the planning authority to sit in on there, but it isn't part of the formal process. It is simply a local developer wishing to let us know what's happening.
Town Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I completely concur with Councillor Parker. Basically, the questions that we've asked the local planning authority fed through from the meeting where we had the head of planning and development come down and address councillors, and there were a couple of things which came out of that, one of which was there was an offer to proof the arrangements that we might have for how we would deal in a consistent and fair way with pre-application discussions. So that's one part of it, and the other was that consideration would be given by the local planning authority, without commitment I should add, but consideration would be given to them to the possibility that in appropriate circumstances they would consider making an officer available to actually attend at those meetings in order to provide a kind of a more policy-based planning framework. So those are the two questions that are currently that are currently outstanding. We've been back to the developer and said at the point we've actually got a view in relation to those, then we'll be able to proceed, because it's as you see, it's structural really in terms of making sure that if we do it for this developer, it's something which we can replicate in a consistent way and a fair way for others, because looking ahead, these applications or requests aren't going to get less, I suspect.
I think that's an important point, that of consistency. I think you all agree. Do you want to come back on that, Graham?
Simply to say that government policy as well as all good practice says that if a developer wants to talk to us, we should welcome that with open arms. What we shouldn't do is offer any opinions. We shouldn't predetermine. We simply take in the information and ask questions that puzzle us. So it is not a formal part of the process, but it is good practice.
Thank you very much, Councillor Parker. Any more comments? I'll make a comment. I was very impressed to read that there were 5 members of the public there. So that's good. That's not a very common occurrence. And I'd say that if anybody's watching now who would like to see a bit of drama and fun at DMNL, as advertised on Facebook, I believe, the chairman, Councillor Smith, actually says it's fun. So, proposer, please, for these minutes. Councillor Venning. Have you finished, Barry? No. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought...
got down to 54, didn't we?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll rise again.
Please do. Well, it will get you up and down. It's good for you.
Work out where I am. I'm on
54, 55. Yeah, thanks, Anne. I will get this right one day.
Chairman, which there was none. Planning applications, little A, which was West Evans' planning decision. Little B, new planning applications. And we go around to there. It's recommended that the views of the Town Council listed in Appendix B be passed to the local planning authority for consideration. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Haven't got there yet. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we've got that. We need a second and a vote.
Indeed, yes. Oh, we will get there this time. So I think Alec was very keen to propose. So, yeah, Councillor Parker is seconding. Oh, do you have a point? No, you're seconding. Good, thanks. All those in favour, we've got there this time. Thank you. Now we can put the yellow paper behind us.
The last one, 58, next meeting. If the next meeting is, which is on the Tuesday the 15th of July, was I don't think the word was the word, but it shows you how the local signatures work. When everyone tells you what they think. So if you want to see that sort of thing, please come along. You'll be very welcome. Thank you for it.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I missed it. Sounds wonderful.
I won't take it to heart.
Excellent. So that, until we've moved to part 2, is the last of the recommendations to be considered. And we move on to service reports, item 10. We'll start, if we can, with the General Manager's report, which I hope you've all read. It appears to be largely good news. Are there any questions that you have? We'll find somebody who might be able to answer them, please. Nope.
Just note those.
Yeah, so that's just noted. Thank you very much. We have a report from the Pannier Market. Reeve, which I hope you have been able to read. Good to see that the TripAdvisor Google reviews, as usual, are very positive. Certainly walking around the Pannier Market myself with so many, particularly overseas visitors, the vibes I'm getting are pretty good, so I'm very pleased with all this. Any thoughts, please, apart from that? Good. So that's noted. And we have a Works Department report. We actually have a Works Department manager here who might be able to answer any questions that you may have. Anything on that? I read that the window repairs are done.
Downstairs?
Yeah, I haven't noticed, but I came in the back way. So I shall be looking at that when I go out. So well done with that. And also, I'd also like to say, you know, you've mentioned here that we helped with the Roby Trust Steam Fair and the Lions Bunting installation, which is a great way to help out in town. So it's good to see our people getting stuck in and helping with those things. Councillor Moody, Bev.
It's a question for Becky, actually. I just want to hear a little bit about what's happened at the museum. that's possible. Is it in your?
That was
Yeah.
in the previous report.
Yes. No, but
Sorry, Bev, can you just speak a little
Sorry.
closer to... thank you.
in the museum actually just recently, which wouldn't have been reported on, I don't think.
It's in Wayne's
Yeah.
report.
Yeah, I can give a bit of information on that. It is the general manager that has sort of been organising that, but I have got a bit of a message to relay. He has a meeting this week actually with stakeholders to discuss funding going forward and what have you. But the defective timber has now been removed. We did that in-house with the Works Department. We replaced and reinstated the floor. There is a couple of small jobs to do, a pane of glass in one of the windows and just reinstating a skirting board. But apart from that, we've caught up what needed to be done. And hopefully once this meeting has happened, towards the end of this week at the next meeting, the General Manager will be able to inform you a little bit in a bit more detail.
Thank you very much, Becky.
Councillor Smith.
Yeah.
Ask a question.
Yeah.
We were working on the Tree of Heaven today? Yes. Yeah, I noticed that we've hired in a cherry picker. Is there an outfit one still playing up as it did on the Monday mornings?
Yeah, no, it's nothing to do with the challenges we have with our existing cherry picker. Our cherry picker just can't reach where it needed to go today. So we had a really successful day in terms of the work planned for the Tree of Heaven. The Tree of Heaven is in decline. There is things going on inside around sort of the trunk. It is quite hollow and what have you. And we are annually monitoring the health and condition of that tree. Today's work was a planned crown reduction and also removing the dead wood. Anyone that I think if you go and have a look, the work that has been done by the tree surgeon, I have to say, is incredible. You can barely notice any of the cuts and what have you. It's been done very sympathetically, and hopefully that will just help the tree for many years to come. But it was all planned, and it was part of the inspection that it had last summer. But yeah, no, it's nothing to do with the cherry picker. We had to hire an Amuke just because ours didn't have the boom to reach over.
No, that's fine.
Thank you, Becky. Any more? I have a question, please, Becky, if I may. You talk about cemetery management and the annual scything. August? Are you looking for volunteers?
Yes, always looking for volunteers for the scything. We are actually going to bring it forward to July, just because of how it's shooting up. I'm just waiting to confirm a date, and then my plan was to send an email to stakeholders and councillors to see if anyone would be interested in joining us on the day. So I will send an email when I have a date.
Thank you very much. Sounds like a unique opportunity to go and do something useful in the community and try not to chop your legs off at the same time. Thank you very much. So we now move on to 10.4. So this is Town Hall and Butchers Hall report. I notice on here that we have 2 youth markets scheduled, which is, I think, a very good idea. Anybody got any other thoughts on this report? Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Something that crossed my mind when I read it was whether there's a possibility that with the youth markets and people who want to start up trading in probably the Butchers Hall or even the pannier market, there's any way that they can link in with the business information point, because they offer advice to new startups, and it would be quite a useful link, I think. I know when my husband started doing some self-employed work, he had a couple of online training courses, and it tells you about the kind of things you need to be aware of, and I think that could work quite well. It's more of a package, so yeah. So
perhaps we can put that question to Martin at some stage, and see what might come out of that. Any more? Yep. Thank you. So that's covered the service reports, and we move on to item 11, financial and other matters. So our report comes from the assistant to the town clerk, but I would ask, if I may, I think the assistant to the town clerk. I think town clerk's got a couple of points to make on this.
Just a couple of updates.
Yeah, is that okay, Jan? Just some additional points that have come up in the recent past.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things which are very much of the moment because they've come up today. So my apologies, but it's just so that you've got an opportunity to know where we're at. One of which is we have received notification from West Devon Borough Council in relation to a consultation on the LC WIP, the local cycling and walking infrastructure
Programme.
plan. Thank you very much. Which has been circulated to all members, but in that I said that we were seeking an extension to see whether, because the timelines didn't work in relation to our meeting cycle. I'm very pleased to say that we've had confirmation from West Devon Borough Council that they can grant that extension. So it'll be coming to the next meeting of the DM&L committee because it considered it originally. And within that there are some they're asking for an indication of local projects which we might potentially support. Now, I think what I would say is they are doing this across the whole of the borough, and clearly the funds are limited. We don't know how limited they are, but it's about really seeing whether or not there's something which might work in the context of Tavistock. Linking into that, we've previously received some communications from Transition Tavistock around cycle parking facilities within the town. And this seems to be an opportunity to tie those two bits together. I think Transition Tavistock were looking for a piece of work to be done by the Town Council, but looking at what they've produced, there's, I think, 3 sites they've identified on Town Council land. Well, relatively speaking, there's one of those we can definitely do something about. There are 2 which are not really consistent with our long-term policy in terms of decluttering, and the other sites are very much in the control and ownership either of the County Council as Highway Authority as the Borough Council. So what we've got an opportunity here to do, I think, is to say to Transition Tavistock, there's a consultation taking place on the LC WIP. This would be an ideal opportunity to put those proposals that you've got to the Borough Council as part of that to see whether or not some of those provide an opportunity to feed in. We can feed back operationally in relation to the Town Council land-owned side of things, and then really flag to them, and I have flagged to them, but to flag to them again the fact that, Highway Authority is the County Council, Borough Council are leading on the LC WIP. This is a timely opportunity to feed into those strands. Happy to take any questions on that. And then there's one other point I was going to raise, but I don't know if there's any questions on that before we go forward.
Thanks. We have a point. Councillor Munro would like to just say something.
This goes into a discussion regarding LC WIP. I'm just checking them. As part of President's Tavistock by association, so I declare an interest.
So as part of the
President's Tavistock.
No, I don't think you need to do so in relation to the LC WIP, because I've just linked what we received from Transition Tavistock to the LC WIP, if you like, from that side of things. We will be suggesting to Transition Tavistock in relation to the consultation, because West Devon are looking for a consultation response solely from the Town Council. We will be inviting Transition Tavistock, if they've got any views or suggestions they want to make, to feed them back to us so we can feed them into the DM&L committee. And at that stage, depending on what they are and what your involvement is, you might want to consider the position at that point.
And at this stage, we're not making a decision here, Trev, so thank you in any way. Councillor Smith, yeah, thank you.
I was just going to say that the General Manager has already written back to them saying thank you for the letter, and he did say that within this financial year he would fit in the reciting of the existing cycle racks which are down by where the post office, with telephone boxes, into that area so that you could have better use, if that's the right word.
Yes.
So that was part of one of the lines on the bottom line.
Thanks for that extra bit of information.
And then the LGR, do you want to mention that?
Yes, sorry, Jan, we'll just cover this one and then you can.
And then just the one other thing, which is again is something that just to let members know, because those of you who are on Budget and Policy Committee and the Local Government Reorganisation Working Group will be aware that we had arranged to have another meeting after we'd had an opportunity to meet with West Devon Borough Council. Originally the plan was that was going to be taking place in June, so we were anticipating that meeting being kind of mid-July, I suppose, from a practical point of view. We've received from West Devon Borough Council today notification that that's not going to be now till the latter part of September, and therefore, just to give you the heads up, that we won't be able to follow through with that meeting in the normal way until after that. Doesn't mean to say we can't meet beforehand. It does mean that we aren't any further on in terms of where things are. And I don't know whether the leader of West Devon wants to say anything in connection with the uncertainties, the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns in the process.
Yes, things have slightly changed in the Devon area of the local government reorganisation. At a meeting that was held a couple of weeks ago, Devon declared that they were looking potentially at staying as a unitary Devon, and so it would be an 8-2 model, so all the districts and then Plymouth and Torbay to be kept separately. So instead of the 1-4-5 model, West Devon will still be going ahead with the 1-4-5 model. That is the one we've all agreed. The one being Plymouth will be on its original boundaries, not the 13 parishes it's looking for. I'll be polite about it. So things, as I say, have slightly changed. We're no further forward. When I had a meeting with the chief exec, and it might have just been me and the chief exec actually. No, it was around comms, so there was other officers in the room, that in all likelihood we're not going to know anything until near the end of September, because not everybody's knuckling down and doing the homework. Some just seem to think they don't know what's going to happen. So we need everyone to be working together. In the 4 group, which includes West Devon, South Hams, Torbay and Tingbridge, we are all working together, and our officers are liaising with each other, and we're looking at how we can set things up to the betterment. There is still no data available from Devon County Council, and they are still stressing the reasons why they don't think us lower mortals will be able to disaggregate and understand the data. They just keep putting reasons in the way. The Minister, Jim McMahon, had a webinar, and he said in there the dates will not change for anything or anyone. So if you're going to be one day late on November the 29th, your plan will not be accepted, and they will impose what they wish. So it's been made very, very clear how that will work. What else is there on local government? Yeah, I think that's about it at the moment. But it is an ever-moving circle, not easy to manage. And, that's about it for the moment. So when we know what's going on, and we don't, it will be much easier to know how we can react with the town clerk.
Thank you for that update. Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I didn't know whether to bring this up on the West Devon members' report, but if you don't mind, if you don't mind, can I? The most burning issue that revolves around devolution and reorganisation and planning in Tavistock is how we accommodate the new housing that is going to come inevitably to the town. I don't want to get into that discussion at the moment, but the process by which we achieve that. As I understand it, and I thank the Deputy Mayor for following up a question that I asked of her, as I understand it, West Devon is going forward with its own local plan, separate from any other district. And right, I've misread Councillor Cheadle's email then.
Do you want to come back on that,
Yes.
Dan? Or
No, I've agreed it today.
Fine, go for it, please.
At next week's hub meeting, there is a paper going forward that the papers haven't been released yet because I've just lied about the date. It's the 8th of July. Sorry. It's not next week, it feels like it. There's a paper going forward listing people's names and everything as to who will be on our new South West Devon plan. So South Hams and West Devon are going ahead with a new plan. Councillor Mott, myself and Councillor George Dexter will be the West Devon reps as, what did I say first? Caroline, Built Environment and Planning, and Councillor Dexter as the Chair of Audit and Governance, because they now have to be on the committee. So, with South Hams, it will be their leader, Dan Thomas. Oh my God, now I can't remember. There's an S long, and I think there's a Booth. Anyway, those names. We've then had to set up who will be on the group. So, Councillor Cheadle as the chair of DMNL, and the chair of DMNL for South Hams, they will be leading on the working groups. The working group membership, I have agreed. I have looked at it politically and geographically. How the hell I've achieved it is a bit beyond my own expectations, but it's done. The person for Tavistock will be Councillor Graham Reid. So he will be leading for Tavistock. We will be doing calls for sites and all the rest of it. Within that paper that is published, it shows you the complete timeline, which is another one that can't be broken because the government won't. It is a 30-month process. It is really intense. So we have to start by September, October, which is why it's going to the hub on the 8th of July, so that we can agree, those people involved, and then start to set things up as to how we're going to do it. Phil Baker will be leading on it. Anything else?
Yeah, just one question, if I may. The South Hams and West Devon are preparing, and that will effectively be what we called in the joint local plan the Thriving Towns and Villages area. Agreed? Okay. But Sherford, which is in South Hams and which severely affects delivery numbers, is actually counted as a policy area of Plymouth in the joint local plan. How's that going to be handled?
That's going to be handled via the fact that the joint local plan will still be administered by Plymouth until it expires, and the lead members for that will be Councillor Caroline Mott and Councillor Cheadle. And I'm not sure if Councillor Dexter gets onto that because I couldn't understand that this afternoon.
That expires in 34, doesn't it?
Something like that. But
34.
Plymouth have to, it expires when a new plan is developed.
Right.
So, legally and obligationally, we still have to liaise with Plymouth because they're our next door neighbour. And we still have to liaise with Torridge as well because they're our next door neighbour. So that bit will happen. The Plymouth bit, as you can understand, there are concerns about because of the stance that Plymouth are taking regarding housing, etc. for Plymouth. I read yesterday that, I read on, Friday, about their memorandum of understanding with New Homes England, New Homes, yeah, that is them, isn't it? Yes, sorry. Homes England, thank you, that they have a partnership, and it was commented that Plymouth as a city has a much lower population rate in the city. They only have 800 houses, and in average cities it's 8,000. So that came up in this as well. So we will have to negotiate with them. Now, as you are aware, that Plymouth want to take Sherford and Woolwell. They want all of them because that is the development land that is available. So we will have to negotiate with them and South Hams about how that's going to work. And that's why we say we have to discuss with Plymouth, but we don't have to agree. You have to have had the discussion. Be it heated or not, but you can, Phil Baker told us today, agree to disagree with each other.
Good. Thank you very much.
that it, Graham?
I'm reluctant to let this run much further. We have hijacked the assistant to the town clerk's report, but I think it's been, yes, that's where we are. But it's we're on 11A. But it's been very useful, and I really thank the contributors. I still think it looks like, I suppose the general manager would say, it looks like one of these pool tables with lots of coloured balls rolling around, and they're not likely to even think about stopping until 3 months by the sounds of it. Anyway, are there any immediate responses to that discussion? I'll go back now, if I may, to Assistant of the Town Clerk. Apologies for, as I said, hijacking your report, Jan, but if you would kindly elucidate.
Okay, I've only got one update. Unfortunately, 12 Duke Street, the prospective tenant is now not going ahead.
Councillor Ewings.
I would just like to say, under the Assistant to the Town Clerk's report, that the Town Council note the departure of Cara Stobart from Dalk. She has been a very loyal servant. She was taught by the best officer in Leslie Smith, who sadly passed away, and Cara went on. We've just had a statement from them. I have personally had correspondence with Cara, and she says if any of us know of the job, she'd be interested. But she's very grateful for the opportunities that Dalk have given her over the years. I don't know how we could maybe record our thanks to her. I can always ask her if she'd like to give me her personal email, because her Dalk one will no longer be working. I think she left last week or the week before. I think it's very sad, but there we go.
Is there a mechanism by which we can do that?
Yes, I mean, I think if one's agreeable, what I would suggest is, yes, by all means, if you're happy to do that. I would suggest also that we write to Dalk. I mean, whatever the circumstances are, I think we should write to Dalk and actually express our appreciation for the contribution that she has made. I come across, not all, but several county officers in different guises from time to time, and I think we were very fortunate in the sense that we had someone who had her ability, her strategic and her policy wisdom, her ability to get on very well with members, to work collaboratively with clerks, and to very much build a Team Devon approach to all that Dalk did. And I think that's very much reflected in the fact that, I'm not saying these figures are exact, but I'm not going to be far out if I say there's about 402, 404 councils in Devon, and Dalk membership, I think, is running at about 380 or something of those. That is an incredibly high membership level, and it's a tribute, yes, to the Dalk board, but fundamentally it's a tribute to the work that Leslie, her predecessor, did, and that she's carried on for and on behalf of Dalk, tirelessly, I would say, and at some personal cost. So I think if we're able to do that, that would be that would be a generous and I think a fitting gesture to someone who's made an immense contribution to the sector in Devon and has always represented the sector well.
Thank you very much. Good. I'm going to assuming... Councillor Martin. Yes, please.
Thank you. Just going back to talking about the lettings that's now available, 1 and 2 Market Road. that are currently available. I was just wondering if the clerk could tell us what the terms of the letting is, and whether or not there's any, whether we're looking to help those in need, or whether there's some way that we can, as housing is such a premium these days. I was wondering if we had any options to be flexible with the terms or not.
Yeah, I mean, the arrangements are what the council's previously agreed. So we're operating through Seymour Lettings, which is the delivery arm for housing well, not of West Devon Borough Council, but since they've split their housing out, it's the housing delivery arm. And this council agreed the terms in relation to local connection and I think it may have been local connection and key worker that we expressed support for at the time. So that forms part of the basis upon which lettings will be made. Lettings are administered through Seymour Lettings themselves.
Retirees from the armed forces, veterans.
That's me.
And in terms of, I'm just going to look left to my other colleague, the properties, as far as I'm aware, we've notified them are available for letting. I don't know if there's a final inspection or if they are good to go.
We're waiting for a response on whether there's a final inspection, but
Right.
they are ready to go from our
So they are ready to let, and it's in Seymour Lettings' hands now in terms of doing it. So yes, those matters have all been picked up and agreed by the council previously.
Are you happy with that, Neil? Do you got anything to say?
Yeah, it's difficult, and I know that there are certain generational issues with people, young families looking for properties. I've tried myself, to look for properties within the area in Tavistock. It's very much a difficult place. So it's great that Tavistock Town Council have got this opportunity to do this. That's what I think.
Good.
And if there's opportunities in any way in the near future, whether we can look to other opportunities to do this again, that would be great within the town council, within the town.
Good.
So,
Thank you. Your sentiments noted. Anybody else? No. Right. Good. So 11B. This is the Town Hall and Markets Consultative Group, at which I was present and a few other of us. A very interesting and wide-ranging meeting. I'm really pleased to see that. Richard Jones was appointed chairman. I think a very worthy chairman. Chairs a very good meeting. I think learn a thing or two from Richard, I'm sure. The 2 points that I picked out, which you might agree with, I don't know, is that we've offered a 30% Sunday rent concession, which I think is a good way to keep our market traders on the ball and happy to turn up on a Sunday. We've also scheduled a consultation, again on the 22nd of October. Any other comments, please? Good. We have a report from West Devon Borough Council written by Councillor Sellis, which you've hopefully got in front of you. Some interesting stuff in here. Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On page 1, penultimate paragraph, the Conservation Area Management Plan, 2 questions really. Number 1, is it proposed to take it for reconsultation, since it's such a different and much better document than the last one that went out for consultation? And number 2, has it been agreed, has West Devon agreed to put Tavistock Town Council's name on the front as we requested?
As the report is written by Councillor Sellis, and she is not here to answer that question, I'll ask the leader in her role to answer that question.
That was on the agenda this afternoon. The report is done, dusted. It will be taken to Hub on the 8th of July. Everybody's happy with it. I told them your reaction to it, Councillor Parker. Mr Powell was very impressed.
Oh, yes, I bet.
But yes, it's going there. We've decided with the agreement that's been with Tavistock Town Council that it actually doesn't need to go out for reconsultation. It is just going to be adopted because any slight errors were corrected by us. And they will accept our name on the document as well.
Both good news. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you very much. Any more on that report from West Devon? We have 11 Delta. This is to receive any updates or questions to council representatives serving on other outside bodies. So I know my colleague, Councillor Johnson, would like to speak on this one, I think. Please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We had a meeting of Tabby Rail here in this chamber last Thursday evening. We have still not heard from the government about the 10-year transport strategy, whether or not the Tavistock to Plymouth line will be reinstated. But there was a meeting today, a conference from GWR, and attending it was Richard Seawright, who is the chairman of Tabby Rail, and Tudor Evans was also there from Plymouth City Council. And the train minister, Lord Peter Hendy, has invited a delegation to Westminster to discuss the matter. So fingers crossed that might be good news in that direction. We're trying to find out. They allocated quite a lot of money, but not all of it's been allocated. So there's still hope while we don't hear that it's not happening. But I did notice that the next Devon Rail Forum meeting, which is called by Devon County Council, has now been cancelled. So I felt that was quite disappointing. That's going to now happen in the autumn.
Thank you very much, Councillor Johnson. Anybody else got anything to say about outside bodies that they have been involved with? This is a good time if you have experience from other... thank you, Beth. I think,
Sorry.
Yeah, you're going to talk about the museum, hopefully.
I've just realised what I was trying to find out before was about, in the little report, is, I've lost it, was the fact that if the building is classed as
Just to clarify, we're talking about the museum.
Yes,
here,
the museum. Sorry. Yes, the building. If it's a building at risk, then that could facilitate funding. Getting funding to help with the situation. What has to happen? Do you know? And how long will it take? Because it's really urgent, really.
You got an answer to that?
I don't know the process involved for getting that sort of clarification on the building, but I can certainly find that out and send an email off to you. Yeah.
Councillor Ewings. Thanks, Becky.
Just to answer that, Councillor Jeff Moody will have received an email recently about all the grants that were available. If you could forward that to Councillor Mrs Moody, please, that will tell her of eligible grants.
It was on my to-do list.
If you could send that, because, Councillor Moody, there are quite a few grants this time for trying to restore old buildings that are falling into slight disrepair. And when I say slight, I'm being polite. They can be ruined old buildings. There are quite a few grants on there, English heritage, and there's the restoration of whatever buildings I think is on there. Okay.
Thank you, Mandy. I'm just looking at Councillor Jeff Moody to see if he's got a response to his immediate neighbour on his right. Yeah.
I was just catching up my emails today. I noted it, and we'll be forwarding it ASAP.
Something to discuss over the breakfast table, I suggest. Councillor Parker.
Yeah, I've got a long history of dealing with listed buildings and listed buildings at risk, and there is a danger in us pressing for the building to be declared a building at risk because the first question that will be asked is, well, who owns it?
Yeah.
Who's responsible for it? Now, why is the town council who owns it declaring it a building at risk, thus admitting that we haven't? There's a danger in going down that line. I think Councillor Ewing's response is much more positive. There are lots of positive grants that we can go for to help us in our statutory duty to maintain that listed building without declaring it a building at risk.
Do you want to come back on that, or should we just let it go? Thank you very much.
Obviously, it's a matter for other organisations if they have an interest in the building or a heritage or architectural background in terms of whether or not they might approach Historic England. From a landowner's point of view, I concur with Councillor Parker.
Thank you. Anybody, any other reports from outside bodies? Splendid, thank you. Agenda 11 Delta 2. Feedback from members. They've done training, basically. Has anybody done any training courses would like to tell us about them, please? No. Good. Well, that's not good, but... Item 12, to receive such communications or reports as may be submitted by the Town Mayor. There are none. Urgent matters brought forward at the discretion of the Town Mayor. There are none. So we move to part 2. Aha, you got there first.
Second that.
So we got a seconder. Yeah. Let's have a vote, please. All those in favour? Thank you. Yes, please. Richard, could you just close the door for us, please? Ah. Thanks, Becky.
See you tomorrow, Becky.